Drunken boxing. So I'm going to start talking about the internal stream, the Neigong, as you will. Nei meaning inside, gong, skill or practice. Don't mind me, I'm going to make tea while I talk. So Neigong has a lot of different meanings and a lot of different ways of looking at it. But what I'm going to start off with is some very basic instruction in things like meditation, sitting practice. So there's tons of different ways to do meditation, and I started studying meditation under my first teacher, who was a teacher at the Qigong in the 80s. And you know, as I progressed from him to different teachers, everybody kind of had their own opinion on it. So what I want to pass on is what some Zen practitioners might call remedial approach. It means beginner, foundational, fundamental approach. And it's actually a method that works extremely well, at least in my experience, for the martial artist who's trying to start to gain that elusive quote-unquote qi experience or a Neigong practice of some kind. So I'm just going to explain how to do it. It's quite simple. So the very first type of meditation, and qigong, we're going to combine the two together, is as you're sitting, you're going to need to first address your structure. So structure in this case, while you're seated, ideally you shouldn't be sitting on the floor, okay? You can't probably see it, but I'm actually sitting on a meditation cushion. Basically, you just want to have your sitting bones, your buttocks lifted a little bit off of the floor. And that's so that when you cross your legs, if you can, it's going to create kind of a tripod effect. So your ischial bones, the sitting bones, are going to work with your lower legs to create kind of 3 points for you to sit on. And what that's meant to do is it elevates your back, is it allows you to find a really nice center of balance in your spine. So I want to be able to sit and totally release my body without hunching forward or to the side or any of that sort of stuff. If your bones are sitting on the floor, it's a little more difficult to do. People tend to move forward, right? So then we want to look at the idea of standing tall like the monkey, just like in martial arts. And standing tall like the monkey means to keep Bai Hui, the top of your head, right, the crown of your head, the jade pillow, if you will, okay, which is the very base of the skull, Da Joy, which is the big bone in the back of the neck, and Mingmen, the arch of the small of the back, your kidneys, where your kidneys are, and your tailbone, okay, or Hui Yin, in between in your perineum, all in a straight line. So you just want to have this pillar of bone sitting straight enough that you can have a lot of muscularity relax into the position. And this is really important because part of the big thing in sitting practice is getting the physicality out of the way so that you can do real internal work, meaning working on things like breathing, or in more deeper internal practices, you're going to be working with dantian, or you're going to be working with qi, quote unquote. I always put that in quotes because it's a very loaded word. So what we're going to start off with is just sitting. So once you're sitting kind of cross-legged, you don't have to be in a full lotus position. I've been sitting in half lotus my whole life. I could do full lotus when I was a little kid when I started, but you know, I'm not a little kid anymore. It's not really that important in my experience exactly how you sit. It's more important what your structure is like so that you can get the physicality out of the way. So you're sitting, you place your hands onto your knees, okay, for this particular one. I'm going to work with the life and death qigong with you first. And what I'm going to be doing, I'm going to put my hands up on the table so you can see them, is that I'm going to be opening and closing the hands. It's very simple. On an inhalation, these are going to mirror my lungs. On the inhalation, my lungs expand, my hands expand, okay? On the exhalation, my lungs contract, my hands contract, okay? And we're not even going to get into any other part of this yet. So all we want to do is work with our hands sitting on our knees. I don't know if you can see my knees. Oh, you can. As I breathe in, they expand. As I breathe out, they contract. Now, a couple of the other physical requirements, you want to have the tongue touching the upper palate behind the front teeth. Okay, don't worry about why for now. Once you've got that going, then you can close your eyes or have the half-lidded eye. And what the half-lidded eye is keeping the eyes open, but not completely open. And you're kind of looking either forward or sort of down about 6 to 10 feet in front of you. And it's sort of a soft gaze. You're not focused like a predator on something. You're just softly gazing, basically intaking the external world and experiencing the external world, okay? In Zen practice, the reason they do this is so that you can take your state of, well, I guess what they would call samsara, samadhi, the state of peacefulness, focus that you've attained in meditation, and you're associating it with your regular life, your outside world, because you can see outside, okay? You can also do it with your eyes closed. It's okay. That's different strokes, okay? Now, once you're starting to do this practice, and I recommend you just try it just like that for a little while. I'm just going to give you the next kind of stage of it as well. Once you've done this practice for a little bit, then you're going to start to work on how you're breathing, okay? So in my next internal video, we're going to talk about the 2 types of breath that we're going to be using in a lot of our qigongs and internal training.